So it is International Men's Day with Antrim and Newtownabbey Borough Council, and we are here in this beautiful theatre, stroke mill, stroke council offices. It has to be actually one of the nicest I've ever seen. And we're joined by Jonny Murphy, who is a former rugby player, Ulster Academy days, school days, Connacht rugby as well, and is otherwise known as the Hungry Hooker.
Yeah.
And people immediately are laughing, and I was speaking to someone in the shop coming down here this morning, and they were saying, what are you at today? And I go, I'm interviewing the Hungry Hooker. And I got this glimpse as if to say, what is he getting involved with? For people that don't know you, Jonny, who are you? What are you? Just give me a sense of who you are.
Well, used to play rugby professionally for about 10 years. Was very lucky to do that at some level, and then unfortunately had to retire through concussion and threw myself into a little wholesale bakery sort of idea in Galway, and moved home, and sort of the social media side of it sort of snowballed, and sitting here now with you, that's probably the long and short of it. We could go a whole lot deeper.
Brilliantly explained. And for people that are not quite aware, Instagram, people may or may not be aware of it. The Hungry Hooker is this guy's account. How many followers would you have on that now, would you say, Jonny?
There'll be a right few now. There's probably close to 300k or so.
300,000. That's a little bit more than a right few, I must say now.
But it's just a number at the same time.
It is, and it's important to have that perspective as well. But it's also a glimpse into how popular you are, because you came up through a system, playing rugby, all you wanted to do, life is great, and concussion, which we're still trying to get our grips on this condition. And the rugby journey comes to an end before you intended it. So not in your terms, in a way. And you decide to throw yourself on International Men's Day on the most masculine thing you could ever possibly think of, which is bacon.
Yeah, no, I always would have had a bit of a passion for it, and cooking probably stems back from my nanny and granddad would have looked after me and my sister when we were younger in the school holidays. And if I wasn't in the garage getting in the way, I was pottering about the kitchen licking bowls and spoons. So that's sort of where it all started from. And I always made like my mates like a birthday cake or the odd treat. And probably I was actually in England for a year, and I made them like 15s and stuff, and they went mad for them. You know, sort of just trying to spread the word, the good word of 15. And then
because they don't have them in England.
No, everyone's dumbfounded. Like see them down south, like, and we had a little coffee morning for the Galway Hospice when I was at Connacht, and I made a few bits, and lads were like, oh, who made these? And I was like, oh, that was me. It sort of became a thing on tough training days, made a few bits, brought it in. They sent me a couple of quid in Revolut, and they always said, when you finish, you should give this a rattle. And like through the years, you would have got the text the night before, it's the missus's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
Could you make me a cake, or could you make me a cheesecake? Because they'd forgot. So pulled the lads out of a hole a couple of times, and then, like I said, or like you said, had to retire early with concussion, and just sort of went for it and threw myself into it down there in Galway, wholesale bakery, and the rest sort of history.
Absolutely. So let's go there with the rugby. Life is good, playing away, doing something you've always wanted to do, and concussion hits. Was that the lowest point, Jonny?
Probably not, if I'm honest. Like I've only, well, I think everyone that follows me knows I'm quite open now about mental health and trying to like I'm not saying I'm solving everyone's problems with what I say, but maybe trying to normalise it. Because like when I was younger, and the first time I got help, when they said that, you know, they showed other examples of other people, it was probably the biggest thing, because I didn't feel like I was alone, if that makes sense. Like I'm not this person that it's just me, you know. I don't like using the word crazy, or like I didn't know what was going on with myself. But like it was very tough. Like one day I had a contract, it was the Monday, I got an offer to go play in France in Nice, and I was like, oh, brilliant. Googling Côte d'Azur and all this here, everyone's going to be coming over to visit me. And then on the Tuesday I got the call from the specialist, advised me to retire, and like I'll be open, like had a panic attack, thought I was dying. Obviously didn't die, I'm sitting here, but like everything just sort of was falling down around me. But like when you said was the toughest, like it wasn't great, but like I think through the years, like I struggled with that stuff from such a young age, and like probably went a decade before I got help, not knowing what was going on, to my teens. And then like, I think like when the first time I got help, I thought it was fixed. You know, it's like you break your leg and you get in the cast and it's fixed, but it's actually big life events can trigger it back, and it's learning how to manage it and build those little techniques that you can combat it. Like, you know, I always look back and you think, oh, I wish some of those things never happened to me, or I never went through that. But at the same time, they've made me who I am today, and I can, you know, not saying I cope with it the best as always. Like recently it's been quite stressful, and like I know now when I'm obsessing over things or I'll always try and distract myself from the problem at hand. But I've learned that, I know it's probably taken me 25 years, but I've learned, you know, that there's a reason for that, and now that I can recognize it, I can try and nip it in the bud. And I think you learn a lot, you know, going through tough stuff, like you were talking about, that resilience side of things, and like going through tough times, I think it gives you a lot of empathy as well, and it builds a lot of character and a lot of like good qualities and habits in people. You know, I heard a quote that like there's always some sort of good in every situation, and like you mightn't see it in the moment, and like it could be absolutely horrific, but like there is some sort of, like, say you don't get the job you want, well, you can learn from it and you can prepare better for the next time. Or, you know, you didn't, you know, like for me, like I had to retire, and in that moment it was gutting, and like, to be honest, I would have played till the wheels fell off. But if I didn't retire, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. You know, there's a path for everyone, and I think, you know, everything happens for a reason in a sense. It's just approaching it the right way. And by all means, like, you know, I'm not saying if something bad happens, you just like that, you're Rosie and Jim. Like, it's, you know, you might take a month, 2 months. You're allowed to mourn. You're allowed to, you know, why has this happened to me? But there is a turning point, and you do learn from those tough situations. Like.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you just touched upon what we were discussing earlier. We should actually just mention this is podcast 2 of a 2-podcast episode for International Men's Day, and we had Darryl from Monkstown Boxing Club. So if you get a chance to listen to that, by all means do so. It was really, really good. The rugby career coming to an end and throwing yourself into something different. This is your career. I've launched a new book, a new website. The Hungry Hooker is a brilliant name for it, absolutely brilliant name for it. And do you know what I find actually myself, the older I get, people used to say when I was younger, if it's for you, it'll not go by you. And I'm like, is there anything more frustrating for a young person to hear, you know? It's like you have to take a bit of control. But so many things in my life, I have found that when things like, I'm gutted and, you know, it didn't work out, but actually something a wee bit better came along, and I'm finding myself nearly against my better judgment going down that path. I checked Instagram this morning, and I was looking at your account, and it's amazing. You have a beautiful relationship with your granny and granddad, by the way.
I'm very lucky to have them.
It's not lovely to say you're lucky to have them, and you can see that there's so much. If you want to see how a good granny, grandfather, grandchildren relationship should be, you can see that with yourself, and they're giving their 2 pennies worth. Grandfather's harsh enough sometimes.
Oh yeah, he'll tell you how it is. Like I could probably, you could make a feature length movie, half the stuff like that, you know. And I just put my phone up, and it's very what would the word be? Primitive setup. Like I used to put my phone in a cup to prop it up against the window. Like only recently got a wee cheap tripod sort of yoke, but like I obviously only hit record when I'm doing stuff. Like if you had a camera on full time, like, you know, it'd be like, I don't know, what, like Gogglebox or whatever, one of those like things, like, you know, it'd be a different show. Like, yeah. But no, I think it's just like, I think especially in this country, you know, a lot of us grew up like that, and you know, that family dynamic and the crack you have. And you know, I think just like when we're touching on the mental health, like people they don't like showing their flaws or like talking about that stuff. Like, you know, it's funny, like I'd show my nanny a video and she'd be like, you didn't put that up, me saying this or saying that. It's like, I was like, you don't understand, like those are the best bits. And like we're very guilty of like not taking photos together other than maybe a birthday or Christmas. And you know, now I've got all these little videos of like they're like little treasures for like, and I hate saying it, but like, you know, in 10, 15 years time, they're not going to be here. And like, it's something that like I'll always hold on to as well. And like, if you probably feel awkward doing the videos at times, you know, at the start, I was going to say, like, if you get the opportunity to like, just make something or like take a video, do it, because like you have no idea. Like, I'd be, you know, having to go through so much footage before I have to delete stuff off it all the time to get memory. And
Yeah.
you come across something and you know, it's great to have those wee moments. Like, they're probably the best bit about it. Like, the whole thing could end tomorrow, and like I've said that, like, you know, it mightn't be sustainable or it mightn't become a career, but like, if I can just get by for a couple of years, sure, why wouldn't I? And you know, and get to like involve my grandparents, you know, and enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's so right. We did a podcast before with a guy. He played Gaelic football for Armagh, and it was meant to be one of our lighter ones. We were thinking it was going to be just a nice, happy one. Some of the stuff we dive into is fairly deep. And his mum died of Alzheimer's. And basically what he said was, I've loads of these lovely photographs of my mum, and I was really conscious to take these photographs. But I didn't take enough videos. Because, you know, if you have your phone and you take a photograph and maybe touch it for 5 seconds, it plays a 5-second bit of the video and it hits you a different way. You hear the voice. And he said, like, if I could give one bit of advice, it was take a few more videos rather than the pictures. And like I work in broadcasting, I should absolutely know this. But it's so true. It does hit you in a different way.
I think I might be coming back around. Like, I remember like back in the day when I was younger, like, wasn't like the camcorder was the whole thing. Like my mum and dad or my auntie had one, and there was always like, everyone had tapes, you know, of stuff, and it was like tapes of a birthday or Christmas or whatever. But like, now you don't do that. And I think, I don't know if it's because people, like you were talking about earlier, just want to share everything or share all the great bits. You know, it's the stuff that, you know, you mightn't think's great is actually great.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
in itself.
It's interesting that you talk about not sharing the great stuff. It's quite timely. On your Instagram feed, as well as the amazing cakes, your amazing granny and granddad, and your amazing self, Jonny, and I'm really, I hope I'm not patronising by saying that. You put a post up a few days ago and you started crying in it.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go on ahead.
No, yeah, I put it in.
No.
We'll be here all day.
Go for it, fella. No, I don't even know where I'm going to go next with that. I thought it was beautiful. And I know that is absolutely the wrong description to maybe characterise that. But basically, it looks so amazing what you're doing now. It looks like you've reinvented yourself. You've pivoted from bad news of having to end a rugby career into something so great. And you come across so well, Jonny. Like, please, never change, man. You're just your authentic, brilliant self. But you basically just said, look, I'm going to shy away from social media for a bit because it's getting on top of you. You have a lot on. And you broke down crying. And our podcast one, which we had with Darryl from Monkstown, was we always show the best bit publicly. Usually that's nowhere near the entire story. And I just thought it was beautiful that here's a fella that looks as if he's got it going on. He's pulled back from the brink. He's reinventing himself beautifully. And there he is bursting into tears saying, like, I'm really struggling here.
Yeah, I think like people don't like sharing that. It's like even going back when I was younger, struggling with stuff like anxiety and, you know, OCD and didn't know what was going on. And mum would show her love in different ways. She just wouldn't be the greatest talker, if you know what I mean. And she would always be like, oh, you're doing so well in school, your rugby's going great, why is this, you know, why are you feeling like that? And like, I think, you know, social media is brilliant for a lot of things, but like you said, like people use it as a, you know, highlight reel, so to speak. And like, I never intended that video to go that way. Like I was chatting to you earlier about it, like I'd always talk off the cuff, like we don't have scripts up here, it's real life, we're just, you know, shooting the breeze.
Yeah.
And I had a few wee bullet points just to remind me stuff, and then I could show you the video, like, I don't know, the whole thing was like 10 minutes, and like I talked at the start and I was fine, and then I was like, I felt like I had to say something else, and just the next minute I was crying. I was probably just built up over time, and I wasn't going to put it up, but the fact that like I've had so many messages, and some of them would be quite, heavy, and it's amazing hearing, some of the stories like, oh, my son suck help, or because of you being open, and thank you for this, and I needed to hear that. I was like, well, you know what, like, if I can, wear my heart on my sleeve, or be vulnerable, and like it's funny, like I at this stage in my life, it probably took me 33 years to get to it. Like, I don't care what Davey down the road thinks of me or what he's saying, and I'll always go back to, like, if it's within my morals and I don't think I'm doing the wrong thing, and my nanny and grand will be happy, I'm good with it. And I was like, I'm going to put it up, and like you said, like, if one person can relate to it and makes a bit of normality for them, like, it's worthwhile. But yeah, I didn't intend on the video going that way, and it's probably just like anything. Is like we all try and do too much at times, and the past couple of months I was probably doing that with trying to build the app, and social media is amazing, but it doesn't directly pay the bills, and that was probably stressing things, and I was just trying to work the whole thing out, and it just got a bit much. And
so when you film that, and you film and you're talking for 5 minutes grand, and then you burst into tears, and you're editing it down, and you have a decision to make there. You've said, like, no, I was going to post that, I'm not going to bother. You have to consciously decide, I'm putting it up, I'm uploading it, and I'm posting it.
I know where you're coming from. It's funny, like, I was with a mate, this is going back, it could be a year ago, and I put a video up, something similar, and I found it tougher playing it to him, say us two in the kitchen, me showing it to you, than sharing it to the world. I don't know why. I think there's like not a buffer. I think, like, I go back to, like, I did like a little cooking demo at my nanny's, like, sort of church, like, just like, it's called the Young Wives, but it's not the Young Wives anymore. Like, they're all in their 70s, 80s. But there's like 80 or 100 local women there staring at me, like, down the barrel of a gun. That was tougher than, like, I got to go on TV once, but actually when you're on TV there's only like 4 or 5 people there. You don't think of the people at the other side of the screen.
Absolutely.
And, like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but, like,
it's a bad thing.
I'd feel I don't know, it just didn't faze me in a way. Like, I'd find it harder showing my mum or dad that video than I would be posting it.
And I guess it does make sense, even though you've, like, guts of 300,000 followers, but that one person, as you named him, Davey down the road, nearly, in a way, but Davey down the road is a thing in all of our lives.
Oh yeah.
Whoever we manifest that person into, and it's a very real thing. And there's a lot of resilience with you, Jonny, and it smacks through here. You've talked through maybe a vulnerability around your mental health and challenges, but there's a real steel there. I would not be able, I don't think, and I hate saying that, but, like, if I had a low moment and I was taking a video and I burst into tears, I would love to say I would do that, because I'd be quite strong-minded in lots of things, but I don't think I would have the courage to do that. And that's a compliment to yourself, but it is so important, because I took a scan through, it's like 2,000 comments underneath that post, and that's not including your DMs that you're getting in there, which is an avalanche of stuff. But the positivity that you've got for showing that vulnerability, and I think it's that one word, vulnerability, that I find, even with my day job, that we've always been taught to stay away from. But I actually think in my life, if someone comes up to me and shows me nearly vulnerability, I spot somebody needs help, like, I am 2 feet in there. I think it's such a lovely compliment to give someone. If you say, look, I'm struggling here, I don't reach out to anybody, but can you maybe help me out here, or I'm just flagging it. Like, I think that is such a compliment to give someone, but at the same time, it's hard to do.
Yeah, no, I think, especially like the first time you speak, I think it's the hardest. But, like, I never thought I'd be open about that stuff, and I said to you earlier, we had like a little thing in Connacht where it was like heroes, hardships and highlights, and you were paired off with a teammate, and then you had to present for each other, and I knew what my hardship was, and other than my like parents and my best mate, no one knew, hadn't been open about it. And then
None of your teammates?
no one, like no one other than even my nanny didn't know until like the videos recently. Like
Right.
people would say, or my auntie would say it to her, you know, I didn't know Jonathan struggled with that. And I
See the way you're called Jonny, but when you're
Yeah,
fair, your
yeah.
granny, it's Jonathan.
Yeah, I know they all call me Jonathan at
See
home.
that?
Like, so, but that was the first time I was like, well, I'm not gonna beat about the bush here. We're up first. I'll just do it. And like a few lads after that thanked me, and they suck help and got, you know, some like counselling through our psychologists and stuff, and like we're in a better spot. And then
I mean, that has to be hugely intimidating. Like, you think rugby, we're all familiar watching it here, and they're your mates as well, they're your teammates, and they don't have a clue that you've got challenges here, and they're expecting a totally different presentation, and in front of them all, you let them know.
yeah, I think like I never thought I'd do stuff like that, and I think it helps you as well expressing it. I think talking is like the first step, and even if it's just when we meet for a coffee or whatever, and then like I've learned that like actually sharing helps others even more, and like that's one of the reasons why I continue to do it, is like to try and help in some sense, you know. Like I'm not getting anything back from it, but like if one, like I said, if one person, like, you know, if it helps someone, like I said, there's some heavy messages that you'd be like, well, like, not in the sense that you save someone, but like some of them get to that point, if you know what I mean. And it's sort of like me doing that one video for 2 minutes can do something like that. You know, that's huge, and like it's a privilege to even be a part. Like I mightn't even hear 99% of it, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
just being able to do that, and like you said, like the amount of mates that I didn't think were struggling that have reached out, like you said, you know, is a privilege them coming to you. But like we were on a stag do, and one of the lads, like big islander, like tattoos, you know, grizzly rugby player, like you don't think they're gonna be, you know, emotional or whatever. And we were like walking along, and he like held me back. He's like, Murph, and we're sort of chatting, and he's from Auckland, and like a couple of days before the stag, got word that one of his best mates from home had died, and like he got very upset, and like I got upset as well. And like the fact that he felt comfortable enough to talk to me about it, and for me, you know, to be there for him, like, you know, I never thought he would be so open about that. And like so many friends have reached out, and I think, you know, or like talking earlier, you were saying about toxic masculinity and things, like there's a whole lot more to a man than, yeah, I think it's just, especially in this country, portrayed like, you know, pull your socks up or roll your sleeves up and get on with it and don't talk or whatever. But like showing that vulnerability and weakness is a strength in my eyes. Like it means that you're not afraid, like you need help, you need pulled up, and like doing, you know, we're all emotional, and like I think like you shouldn't batter them down, because you have emotions for a reason. You know, feel them, let them out, let them happen, and process them, and like makes you a better person. And you know, I think actually suppressing them probably leads to some of that there. Carry on that toxic stuff that like people talk about, you know, and like, you know, I think there's just a whole lot more to being a boy and a man than, you know, what some others might think.
Yeah, and it's fighting against that, and there's no better example than sitting 3 feet in front of me right at the minute, Jonny. And you know, it's interesting, even the backgrounds. I mean, we had Darrell on in the first podcast, and backgrounds are different, and you know, parents, are they about, are they not about, and working class, and your background's a little bit different. Your parents, they're great home, Donaghcloney, great part of the world. Your granny and granddad, hugely loving, fantastic. Like if you're marking the tick sheet, it's all good for Jonny Murphy. And then it transpires that Jonny has his own challenges the same way as somebody else. And I think that message is important, that this stuff cuts through everything, absolutely everything. And it's not just, oh, well, that only happens to me because this is my background. And I think if people from all backgrounds see that we can give ourselves maybe a forgiveness that actually this is very transparent, that this is...
I think everyone's situation is different, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's funny, like the different ways, like, you know, I'm very lucky to like have such a supporting family, and parents were together and they brought me to rugby, and, you know, that's how they showed their love. But like my parents they wouldn't be open about talking or their feelings. None of my family would be like that. whereas like probably I've only recently learned that I am like that, if you know what I mean. And like I never thought I was an emotional fella, and then down in Connacht, whenever a teammate's leaving, someone's asked to speak for them, and I had to speak for I don't know, Paddy McAllister. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Paddy used to, yeah,
I had to speak for him, and like, oh, I was flipping on, like crying after it, if you know what I mean. Like, and I'm an emotional person, like, and he said, Murphy, you're emotional, like, and I was like, am I? And he's like, yeah, you are, like, and then probably like I think probably because I just drove it down for so long, and like that's one of the things, like when I did get help, like through the years I've had numerous times where I've had to, you know, get support in some sense. If it was,
what does that look like, Jonny? Just
like when I was younger, like I probably like went for a decade like struggling with things, and then I didn't want to go to the doctor because I thought it'd go on my medical record, and if I was ever to play rugby, they'd be like, look at this guy, he can't, you know, he can't be a part of the system or whatever, which is obviously rubbish. But
that's a very real thing, a young person coming through when that's recently rugby.
Yeah, and I think like you put scenarios in your head as well, and you believe them, like, and that was one of the big things with like OCD and anxiety and depression. And I got help, and like I said, I thought I was fixed, and then the next thing, you know, I had a real bad ankle injury, and like the injury was healed, but it was more the mental side of it that I struggled with. And then got help, and then moved to England, and quickly learned that I was quite a homebird and struggled there, and then got help again. You know, there's then obviously retirement and moving home, and there was a lot going on, just like big life events I think can trigger it. And I think that's so relatable to all walks of life, not just like sport. You know, you could lose your job, or there could be an accident, or you could, you know, like it could be an injury or whatever, or like, you know, even like you could be going out with someone for 10 years, and the next minute overnight they're, you know, broke up, they're gone. Like it's all relatable. And I think, you know, for me it was always like you got like support, like a counsellor. Like I ended up I've taken medication as well, never thought I would, and you know, it does definitely help, and you know, it's not to be shunned upon. So those would be sort of the things that I would have lent on, and never thought I would. But like they definitely, especially the counselling side of things and being able to speak, is massive.
Yeah, it sounds like you're absolutely doing all the right things, and complete role model, fella. I do not say that lightly. Complete role model. Best bit of advice that you've ever been given? That's a difficult one. I feel unfair asking you that question, by the way.
I probably have two.
Right.
Everything happens for a reason. It was a family friend. I didn't get into the secondary school I wanted to go to, and she's like, oh, everything happens for a reason. And then through the years, you know, made all my close friends at that school, rugby. Then I went to go to a grammar school to do my A-levels, and they were going to release me to play for the club. And you know, there's two different school club systems.
Yes.
And a couple of days in, they're like, oh, we're not releasing you. So I left, and there was uproar in the house. And so didn't do my A-levels, went to Tech. And if I didn't do that, my rugby path mightn't have been the same. And, you know, moving to playing Galway, you know, wouldn't have made so many close friends, and the backing side of things starting to become more, and then obviously having to retire. You know, I mightn't be doing what I'm doing now. You know, in the moment it was horrific, but like it's led to this. If I was still playing, I wouldn't be doing this, and it might never have happened. And then probably one that my dad said, and then I'd probably take it with a pinch of salt, but like he said, there's no such word as can't. If you can't, you won't, and if you won't, you don't want to. So I think like no matter what it is, like there's a path to, like, obviously I'm never going to be an Olympic sprinter, I know that, but like, you know, if there's something that you really want, or if you want to pursue and it's realistic, like you can get there in some sense, and like it doesn't have to be a massive thing. It's just like if you put the work in, and I think it's very poignant for your mental health. It's a daily thing, and it's a work on, and you know, just getting, you know, I don't lose sight of progress, because like, you know, 1% better's better than 0%, if you know what I mean. And it's looking back and seeing where you've come to from where you started.
Brilliant. Wow, absolutely fabulous. Look, I can think of no better person on International Men's Day here with Antrim Newtownabbey Borough Council to have yourself sitting in front of us. It's been an education for me, and I'm sure everybody here. Folks, did we get something out of that? Yeah, absolutely fabulous stuff. So look, Jonny, continued success, and most importantly, happiness. It's a good word, it's a good word. Continue to do great things and be your authentic self. And on behalf of everybody here, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.